horrible, but like he is definitely not shining in a role that has become extremely competitive. There's so many good top laners in the league right now, and if you are not playing on your A game, you're gonna kind of fall to the wayside pretty quick.
We just came off of a game where you can see the impact of keeping some of that control in that solo lane can impact the control of your team overall in the early game, and seeing how he can hold his own against Revenge, who has really come into his own on Evil Geniuses. There's so much talk around Jojo as this clear MVP frontrunner. Obviously, the MVP conversation kind of starts up in the second round robin, but every member of Evil Geniuses have stepped up in some way, and Revenge is willing to take that duel if necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be LeBlanc first pick here for Palafox, only his second play of the split. If I recall correctly, he had a pretty good game on it individually, but it wasn't a loss. We will see if he's still going to be doing the Shiv build. It has gotten very heavily nerfed, specifically for AP mages, and especially, you know, the dash interaction has been nerfed as well. So it's way worse on LeBlanc than it used to be, but people are still building it. So it'll be interesting to see if he is going to go that route, or if it is just going to be more of the kind of common like Luden's Rush that we used to see. On the other side, it is Poppy, it is Azir locked in. Poppy really rising in priority. There's so many dash champs in the meta these days, and I do think it's really strong as a playmaker. Especially, there's so many people that I feel like are running two-threat comps, and if you're going to run a two-threat comp and even get one person ejected by the Poppy, that can completely dismantle a team fight. You can also, even against multi-threat comps, you know, eject the flanker and things like this. There's a lot of opportunities for big plays, so going to be exciting to see if that does go to Armao. That's kind of where I expect, but definitely could be up towards Revenge as well if he gets the right matchup.
You can for sure create a point of vulnerability in these fights by bringing that numbers advantage onto your side with Poppy, and then Azir obviously becoming a staple once again in the mid lane. Even with some of the bans going his way. I know that Palafox in a recent TGI interview also talked about you ban the Ahri against Jojo every time. You see what he brings out after that, but no reason to dip too deeply into his pool. On the energy side, we've got Sejuani locked in and the Renekton here. So a couple melees coming through for the combo.
Yeah, I mean, they banned out the two most played from Jojo. You know, they banned out the Ahri, they banned out the Jace, they first picked the LeBlanc. Those are some really powerful picks for Jojo. He actually hasn't played a single Azir game yet this split, so it is going to be his first Azir game of the split, but obviously trying to knock him down from what they believe to be the S tier champs for Jojo. So we'll see if he can make it work on more of a control mage, something that is not as well known, you know, for being able to dominate in the early game, and that is really this guy's bread and butter. Put me in, coach. It is going to be Rakan being banned out, obviously wanting to take away that pairing from the Xayah. Unforgiven has been playing a lot of Xayah. It is actually now, with this game, going to be his most played on the split. So this will be his 5th Xayah game. He has 4 on Aphelios, 2 on the Varus, so only 1 Lucian game. So, you know, it is becoming really, really popular. And I don't blame him, right? When you're looking at the first 3 for NRG, it's a lot of dive, it's a lot of aggression. Xayah answers that so well. And we'll see what NRG are going to try to round out their picks with, because they obviously need to draft their bot lane. And on the other side, we're still looking for a jungle or a top potentially, and then the support.
And 100% win rate on that Xayah. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of 100% champs when you're Evil Geniuses with only 2 losses. But I know they're talking a bit about Unforgiven and the pressure that he can assert early game. I know I've heard Eyla in multiple interviews really give props to Unforgiven for also showcasing in the NACL what he's able to do, basically optimizing to get as much farm as he can, try and pressure his enemies in a way that they can't recover from, and we'll see what FBI and Ignar can do in that matchup once they get their picks locked to them. But as Evil Geniuses on the selection side for now, we know what's going in that mid lane and the carries where the damage will be coming from. So who will be setting that up? We've got Ksante up top for Revenge.
Yeah, Renekton Ksante becoming incredibly common these days. So it will be Poppy jungle. So we know the top 3 for both of these 2 teams now. It is just about finishing off the bot lanes. Jinx going to come through. What will the support pick be? So Jinx, Rell. So some very powerful engage drafted in here from Ignar. And now I'm just interested, you know, REG going to draft for the 2v2, or are they just going to draft some engage of their own? Alistar has become by far the most common answer. I do think there's a lot of other answers, and I feel like kind of a bit of a broken record talking about them, but Alistar seems to be the one that people do use in LCS. You can go some enchanter options if you really want to kind of more play to that 2v2. But I am just expecting Alistar, honestly, because it feels like that is the default. Nautilus is going to come through, though. Does give you that point-and-click ulti, really powerful against champions like LeBlanc, who wants to be able to distort back. That depth charge is going to follow you, and you can still do some things like hooking the Rell out of her W, so there's ways to actually interrupt and disrupt that combo, while still having that extra utility of that ultimate later on. So I'm actually more of a fan of this than Alistar. I'm not really the biggest Alistar fan. I feel like people are kind of just defaulting it a bit too much, so we'll have to see what they can get done. EG playing a little bit of a less standard comp for them. They generally play more threats. This is very much so just like a two-threat, front-to-back style team fight team. This is more something that we've seen a lot of from like 100 Thieves and those kind of teams. Where on the other side, this is more something that I would identify more heavily with EG, where they have some early game aggression, they have some agency, they can potentially play through sides, look for picks. Of course,
it's a new feeling for him being at the top of the standings, and what that does for a team environment that had a lot of doubts around them going into summer. It can put you in a totally different mindset of what you want to improve on, how you want to oppress everyone you're facing in this league, and focusing on that early game and making sure that you suffocate anyone that you're playing against is one way to really make a statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Revenge is a player that a lot of pros will tell you very positive things about, but the community was overall very negative on him because he had never really been on a good team. And when you look at his kind of tournament results, I'm just looking even just on low wiki at all his tournament results. It's like, okay, 9th place LCS Spring, 9th place LCS Summer, 10th place LCS Spring, 9th, 10th in lock-in. It's like these are the kind of results that he's been having. He did get 5th, 6th in playoffs in 2021, but that is about as high as he has really ever gotten. So it is going to be one of those things where it's like just straight up, this is already the best split he's ever had, right? This is the best he's been on as far as teams do go. And that is exciting, right? For a player who's always felt like he had it in him to be on a top team, to be able to win a championship, to be able to challenge at the top of the table. Now they're having that opportunity, and the same goes for a lot of these people around him, right? Armao has been stuck in Academy forever and has been at or near the top of Academy for a very long time, but every time he came into the LCS, he was fairly disappointing, and no one really thought he was truly going to be able to maintain that LCS level, so he's been overlooked. Eyla, of course, was heavily overlooked after his split with FlyQuest, which was really bad. A lot of these players are being able to step up and trying to, rewrite the narrative about themselves, so to speak. So I think it's a really cool story to see that EG is being so successful after basically erasing their entire roster that they had from Spring, which had such high expectations.
And in terms of kind of changing these narratives around these individual players, yes, there are a lot of young stars like Jojo that are still making a name for himself, even though he very swiftly created a lot of dominance within the league. But someone like Armao, who's been around for a long time, can fall into that effect of, oh, we've seen everything we can from him. But I think this is a great split for him to come in when we're coming off of Stixay stories, for instance, right? A player that had championship experience early on, went all the way down to the tier 2 level, and then coaching to rise back up into the finals, and Armao evolving as a player. Eyla, for instance, when speaking in his DGON interview, was saying that he feels that Armao learned a lot when he was stepping into the coaching as a member of Cloud9, and even going into these other organizations, having played with Armao previously and now doing so again, he feels like he's a renewed player, somebody who has evolved in that time, and I think that's some of the highest praise you can receive. I'll stop on that thought for a moment. Revenge falling low, gets the drawback onto Dhokla. Contractz hovering nearby to follow up. Goes in with the Q. Flash for Flash. First blood drawn by Contractz.
Yeah, nice kill there. Revenge wanted to greed it out and stay around. He didn't want to actually base. That's why he goes down to the Tri-Brush to actually ward it instead of just basing and TPing back, but he gets punished for that greed. Should have known. Contractz could have been up there. There was heavy trading. Contractz just skips his topside camps, goes bot 3 straight up towards top lane. Finds himself an easy first blood there and the flash off Revenge. So Revenge definitely going to be kicking himself for that one. Should have maybe played a little bit safer.
And it's a good look if you're on the side of NRG, because when it comes to their victory against Team Liquid, Eyla does hook down. Pheromancy allows Ignar to escape. Some poke offered onto FBI, but he can dish it back. Good sidestep of the zap. But for NRG, yes, they got that victory over Team Liquid, but I mean, you heard it in the comms after. It's a heist, it's a heist. It was that late game win. And in their game against TSM yesterday, it felt like Contractz nor anyone on NRG were able to make the early game plays. They just got stopped right from the start. And some of their victories come off of when Contractz clearly is able to get these leads into the lanes, facilitate, and find himself in a position to keep pushing that opportunity. But maybe they can do so here after drawing that first blood on the top side and bring that advantage somewhere.
Yeah, we'll find out. It is going to be Palafox going for the Shiv build. Of course, his hand was tipped. He's playing Fleet. He started with Longsword, so kind of already knew that, but it is, of course, confirmed as he gets the Kerchi's Shard. So he's going to be just looking for that poke, that prod. It can be pretty difficult to deal with, and the sustain is actually relatively high, you know, with a champion like LeBlanc having Fleet, because you can always get those Fleet procs on the enemy champion just by soaring forward, whereas oftentimes Fleet procs are wasted on the minions where it heals for way less. So it is very nice to be able to utilize it in that way, and it's one of the things that can make a big difference. Of course, it is very early stages, but he's already gotten about 100 healing from that, so, you know, is one extra charge of that refillable potion, and it's just based on the short amount of time they've lain, that's pretty darn good.
And now, after 5 minutes, first dragon has spawned. Teleport was just used by Jojo to get back to lane, and the supports have been unlocked from their lanes, hovering over towards this mid side. Ignar doing so to get some wards down, and EG pushing up on this wave. Contractz hovering in the brush. Does have the control to make sure that he's not seen, but you have the shifting stands from Jojo to be able to create that distance.
Really good sidestep on Palafox's chain. If the chain connects, then Palafox could potentially look for a flash follow, try to lock him down, then Contractz to maybe come in and get something done. But it was not to be. They do push them out, though, and this is going to mean tough stuff for Revenge, who's had the base again, and Sejuani is between him and the turret. Dhokla's going to be just proxying, not allowing him to walk up. Palafox is missing as well, so Armao is going to come up, but this is a level 4 Poppy who's not going to have the easiest time doing it, and Revenge is stuck watching this whole wave die. He's trying to get him range to at least get XP, and now will get him range to start farming this up, but that was a good 3, 4, 5 minions that were lost. Another plate is going to fall. Excuse me, the first plate is going to fall there for Dhokla. So Dhokla getting pretty far ahead off his exchange.
And now Palafox has retreated lane, so leaving 3 of NRG, stunning up onto Revenge. And follow up here from Armao. Contractz hooked by the depth charge here. Oh, the dredge line managing to catch him. Revenge sending over the wall. Contractz gone, 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 baby, gone. A double stun. Ignar, not long for the world, has fallen. NRG losing 2 over here on this top side. Once Palafox had gone away, they weren't able to stand up to him.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, they stayed a really long time up on that top side trying to punish Revenge, and the initial play was great. You can see Renekton still is 14 CS ahead, got the play, but the overstay was just way too much, and the full roam comes up. They had been spotted, and I think at that point you need to kind of just retreat, but Armao comes up, Eyla comes up, Jojo comes up. They send the whole squad up towards that top lane. Revenge gets a kill, Jojo gets a kill, so Revenge is going to equalize in this lane a lot. So is helped out by his team from that early pressure that he was receiving. And the fact that Jojo gets a freebie off that roam really sucks for Palafox, because he wants to be bullying this lane. As the LeBlanc, you want to be poking, you want to be prodding, you want to be making it really, really difficult for Jojo, and it's not going to be the case. So Revenge went in early, took a lot of damage here, but did get some poke and slow on the squad as they're trying to exit out. They just can't quite do it. And then Revenge going all out, he's already down to half HP, is going to be able to take one over the wall with him, isolate him down, gets that first kill here onto Contractz. Jojo shows up. They can donate this one over as well, because there's nowhere for him to go. So Jojo in a great spot, has the tier 2 boots, already has Lost Chapter, so he's kind of in that comfort zone now on the Azir. And Palafox just going to be working towards that Shiv, where he's going to try to find some windows to really just chip Jojo down.
Yeah, good job of Evil Geniuses to offset some of that pressure, even though there is that slight gold lead still remaining for NRG. It's not in a significant way, as Dhokla was positioned to try and get a big lead up top side and still has the farm going in his favor, but Revenge garnering a lot off of that previous fight up top. And now that dragon still remains here at 8.5 minutes, so Scuttle has been secured by NRG's side, seeing if they can try and bring this back towards them a bit. They know that Jojo is starting to build this lead for himself, just trying to emo a little bit. Jungler is still in the vicinity of this mid lane because you've got multiple objectives that you're trying to set up the wards for.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of attention around mid lane there from NRG. They are really focusing on Jojo, you know, multiple bans, the first pick takeaway of the LeBlanc. and now in game as well, bringing up the support constantly. Rell is here again, FBI as well moving up. So they want to try to take this first Rift Herald here and potentially use that to kind of dislodge Jojo on this Azir from mid lane. Even if you can't poke that turret down, if you can get both Heralds, that is enough to knock down that mid lane turret and take away that safety. On the other side, though, Unforgiven is going to be given some alone time to catch up and farm a plate of his own. Will be basing now, so it looks like they're potentially going to make a swap to match because Revenge could be in trouble.
NRG once again spending time on his top side. Flash already used by Revenge, even hitting with the Super Mega Death Rocket for FBI to knock this one into his pocket. And NRG answering back on the top side. They got that Rift Herald, so now those plates are theirs to claim.
Yeah, they're going to get this first turret for sure, you have to think. Armao and Eyla moving up, though, so want to have something to say about it. And it doesn't feel like NRG is confident enough to stay around and finish it off. I felt like they probably could have done so, but maybe worried about Revenge TP flanking, when he does respawn, or maybe didn't have the exact TP timer on Jojo, so worried about his response. But at the same time, that did mean Unforgiven had another wave to be able to push out down on bot side. Jojo denies a little bit more CS, chips that turret down a little bit, and Palafox will be able to finish off a plate here in mid. So going to be able to get a little bit of an advantage there for himself now that he has that static Shiv completed. Will be ramping up that poke, ramping up that wave gear, and trying to lock Jojo in place.
Yeah, you could see that pinging that was coming out before that too, so NRG making sure they go for the safe play, and now keeping FBI and Ignar towards that top side. Dhokla down bot, matching against Unforgiven, who did get that ample amount of time to push up on the waves and try and get closer and closer to building his first item. That turret's still really weak on top side, and NRG want to capitalize. They keep denying Revenge so much, just locked between these turrets, afraid of what he can lose if he tries to stand too strong against NRG, but also trying to draw their attention as the rest of the team on Evil Genius's side do start up that dragon. So different focuses for both of these squads.
But I mean, EG are not getting nearly as much back. Like, Revenge is really getting kind of blasted in this game.
Absolutely.
There's so much pressure up towards top side. Another plate's going to go down mid. They took the full tower top. The early plates from the Herald Crash were shared, but the first turret gold was not shared at all. So FBI is way ahead of the curve now. I want to check in on the gold and see actually how much ahead he is. He is a good 700-800 gold ahead of where Unforgiven is, even though they're the same farm, just because of all the plate gold he got, all the turret gold he got there, and his cold cash out. So that is really, really big. And again, back towards mid lane, trying to look for Jojo.
Contractz hits with the Glacial Prison. Emperor's Divide used for the disengage.
Yeah, going to be able to stay safe. Palafox, I don't think, has the damage I need. Look for any sort of a follow-up play here. So just going to continue chipping away at that turret, trying to get as much poke down as possible. Jojo plays it calm. Didn't feel they had enough burst to kill him, so it doesn't expend the flash at all.
Yeah, manages to hold on to the Summoner, which means that he can be a bit more secure in his ability to farm up in this mid lane. But still taking damage off of the poke of Palafox. Knows that Armao is nearby, was just clearing out in his side of the jungle.
Yep, so just gonna be able to finish up this wave. He'll go back. He has his TP now, but
oh, now they get the flash.
Okay, nice reaction though to that Super Mega Death Rocket coming through cross map. Don't want to give that to FBI. FBI is already getting really rich on this Jinx. Armeo's trying to hold the wave, so he's just going to try to keep it here for Jojo to TP back to. Wants to pull it to the side. Contractz will be a little bit annoying, but because Palafox is going back to base, there's not really any danger for Armao, and this will secure that wave. Therefore, his mid laner making sure that Jojo is going to stay safe. He's going to go Crown, which I don't really get, against the Shiv LeBlanc. I feel like it's going to get poked off a ton. But maybe feels like later on in the team fights, it's going to be about the hard engage onto him and need to survive through that. So I think in the 1v1, it's going to be totally useless, like popped off instantaneously, right? But maybe in the 5v5, it'll pay dividends. So I'm going to be interested to kind of track that, if they can actually poke it off him before those 5v5 engages come through, or if, he gets hard engaged on by Rell and it makes a big difference.
And Eyla getting engaged upon currently means flashing over the wall. Armao here to stay. Throws out the Keeper's Verdict. Teleport coming in for the Evil Genius's side. Dhokla already centered on down. Dominus in effect. Revenge draws him in. Unforgiven throwing out the Feather Storm. Multiple burns and locked here in the Riverside. And Emperor's Divide already thrown, but Jojo, he falls low. Triple kill for FBI.
Yeah, Penta.
A stun up here with the Glacial Prison. Make that a Penta. Second Penta of the day. Let's go, FBI claiming it.
FBI 13-minute Jinx penta. That is huge for NRG. Nearly 5K up off the back of that. 6-0-0 now for the Jinx. We can watch the fight one more time. EG's execution was pretty messy on this one. The initial play, nicely done by Eyla, buffers the hook, gets away. Then in comes Armao. He ejects Contractz. They say, all right, let's take the fight. But it's a double DP coming through. Dhokla's responding as well. Armao's already chunked low. And how they actually manage this on the right side of the fight, Revenge tries to solo out Dhokla, but Unforgiven, you know, is really taking so much damage from him as well. So both Revenge and Unforgiven are put incredibly low. Dhokla also got the cleanse and the ulti off Unforgiven, so he's not really able to re-enter the fight. And it just sets up for the situation where the Jinx is untouched the entire time, and there's nowhere for them to go. They get the penta for him, and this has got to be a game that FBI can carry. He has been set up so well by his teammates.
What a great position to be in as Jinx. So much gold in his pockets right now. Look at that, 8,000. Next closest is so much lower. I was going to do some math, over 2,000. Yeah, Bill Gates really, really holding it down on the FBI side.
Yeah, he is rich. So we'll see what can EG do about this. They are known for their early game, and they have been blasted in the early game. A lot of the agency was on the other team. You know, they were going more for this kind of scaling, slower style. Revenge really got punished so heavily in the top lane. NRG did a good job, you know, with their team, you know, getting up there, punishing him. They put a lot of focus towards Jojo, which honestly didn't really get them much. You know, Jojo's still in a good position, but Unforgiven has been put so far behind FBI off of the early Herald, the swap towards top, donating all of that first brick gold onto their ADC. Now he gets a pentakill after that. So EG are just going to look to fight once again here. They're on the Herald, but could be in trouble.
Contractz already answering, throws in with the ult. Multiple knockups on both sides, but Eyla has fallen. NRG coming up on top in this fight thus far. Downtown, Rocket hits some. Double kill set up for Palafox. Revenge on the retreat alongside Unforgiven. And Revenge already separated by Palafox, who's looking for the last hit with some autos. Gets it. Unforgiven might find Dhokla waiting for him on the other side here with that wave ushering forth, but FBI still got that downtown input in the fight with the ultimate, and then able to pressure on mid side, a turret claimed.
Yeah, Armao was able to eject the Jinx from the fight, which was massive for EG, but they're just too far behind at this point. You know, Jojo goes in for the big Azir sack. Looks for that shuffle play. They're pretty grouped up here, though, which allows Contractz to go forward. You can see Jojo scooping up multiple members. FBI going to get ejected right here, and you're thinking, okay, maybe there's some sort of opportunity, but Jojo's in the midst of everyone. He's going to get burst down, you know, really early on. He's picked off. Revenge is softened up. Unforgiven has really nothing left to contribute to this fight, so he's just on the run, and it feels like that's about all she wrote for this one. NRG are now so far ahead. It is a ridiculous lead at 17 minutes, 7,500 gold. They're going to grab the dragon. They got the mid turret as well to add insult to injury. So EG just has nothing working for them at this point besides, you know, maybe hoping Jojo somehow, some way can carry this game.
And of that 7,000 gold lead for NRG, so much of that is held by the carries of the team who have been throwing it around in these fights. You saw how ahead FBI was able to get early on as the team was setting it up for him. But Palafox, too, now becoming a huge threat that Evil Geniuses have to worry about. And now the Vision also getting aggressed in the favor of NRG, throwing down some of the controls, and Jojo just hanging out on the top side to try and prevent some of the pushing as Palafox is there to potentially match as well before hovering down to join NRG, who have the Rift Herald they previously acquired, trying to break up this turret so that the Herald can get a better crash onto the tier 2.
EG are TPing for this, though. They're going to try to stop this turret from being taken. I mean, they know they're way behind, so I think EG are the kind of team that are just going to look for fights, see if they can make something happen.
Armao's the one that's trying to do it. Jojo flashing to get back, and Emperor survives on multiple. Unforgiven throws down the Featherstorm, gets multiple en route, but the teleport coming in from NRG means they've got more numbers at him. Palafox going for the kill onto Armao, can't quite find it. A stun up onto Revenge, but he's able to dash out, focusing onto the turret. NRG create more of an opening for them to collapse upon Evil Geniuses, who have lost 3. One of them almost close close in death. Revenge has to go back to the fountain to heal, which leaves Unforgiven alone. Gets a little bit tagged up by the chains, but still keeps his life. In the meantime, NRG are claiming control of this map.
Yeah, Dhokla even able to backdoor that mid tier 2. They get another kill. You know, as soon as the TP was coming through, you know EG are just going to go for the Hail Mary. They know this game is basically over, you know, after that pentakill on the Jinx, honestly. So they're just going to see, can we make something happen? Jojo's going to look for it. Tries to go deep. Armao is really charging it ahead of the team. He wanted to see if he could get in on FBI and scoop him in. Does go with the flash, but FBI had the ghost up. He doesn't quite catch him. And not going to be able to get that kill. They know Jinx has no flash. This is maybe our one chance if we can find Jinx. But he was positioned so far back that it was always going to be a really long shot. I can't really say I blame Jojo for going for it, though. Like, this game is just so doomed from the position that their Jinx got in really early on. So now it's just up to NRG. Close this one out cleanly. Now, they did lose a game like this to Immortals back in week number 1. So they definitely want to make sure that they were really dotting their I's, crossing their T's, make this one nice and crispy clean, and try to have a quick closeout.
Yeah, try and not get too hyphy in the face of Evil Geniuses. I mean, this is the currently #1 team in the league for a reason. It's not just early game domination. It's their good play overall. They've had excellent team fighting. But still, it feels like you have to give props to Contractz and Ignar for creating that space for FBI to continue to rain down the damage, even when targeted by someone like Jojo, which, like you said, Azael, was the right play, but just unable to grab as much as he would hope for against NRG, who are now working with over a 10,000 gold lead and funneling EG towards their base. Get a stun up onto Armao, more to follow. Look at the damage coming from FBI. Armao immediately eliminated once focused, and Revenge teleports in the center of it all, but NRG will claim the life of the jungler before walking their way over towards the Baron setup here.
Yeah, EG just don't have enough damage, right? You know, Jojo's just on 1 item. Unforgiven now does have 2, but they cannot get through the front line at the same pace that their opponents can. FBI, if he's free firing, it's just going to crush you. He's already on 3 items and has an LDR, plus the Kraken Slayer, so going to be able to just punch through that front line that EG is drafted for incredibly fast. Nice stun, though.
Oh, they managed to get the stun onto Palafox, using the passive to escape. EG were really hoping to grab one their way.
Yeah, it was a good initial stun there by Revenge. The follow-up was there from Eyla. They locked down Palafox for quite a while. Would have been a nice kill to try to get, you know, get that 600 gold bounty. Maybe, you know, create something working for their team. But as long as NRG just fight together and honestly don't have like a ridiculously bad fight, it's pretty much unlosable with this sort of an early gold lead. You know, you drafted this front-to-back comp where you're trying to play, but like the frontliners are so far behind, the carries are so far behind. You have a 1-item Poppy with a locket. Not going to say it's the wrong idea, but it does mean that he is incredibly squishy. Your Ksante got put way down too. He's only on 1 item, so LDR Kraken Slayer Jinx is going to pretty much cut through the entire frontline like butter.
And NRG are still looking for ways to keep EG continually oppressed. That 10,000 gold lead, like you're saying, is just going to hit so hard at this point. And I think you do have to give props for the way they are taking a very controlled approach, even when rotating towards a Baron. Immediately, we're going for the play to peel off of it and look for an opening if EG did try to come contest, not overstaying. Also keeping that disengage available, keeping in mind that Armao is always going to be going for FBI, but FBI had so much damage that he's able to output from the back of these fights.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy, but you also don't want to play it too slow, right? Because if you give them too much time, that can give opportunities to your opponents. So you definitely want to see them close this one out. They have more than enough of gold lead to be able to do it in the next, 5-10 minutes. It should definitely be over. We'll see if they're going to be able to do it, though. They are over onto the Baron. This is the kind of play you need to make. You don't have to hard commit to the Baron, but you have great tools to turn. You have Palafox's zone. You have Sejuani. You have flanks from Dhokla. You have hard engage from Ignar. So draw them to you, force that fight, win the fight, take the Baron and the game.
Many flashes on both sides. Jojo just using his teleport to get into it. And one ult expelled here by Contractz. Rue onto Armao. The rocket comes from downtown to chunk down Unforgiven and Eyla, who tries to get his hook back into it. But now Revenge drawing one over the line. FBI just submerged into Evil Geniuses territory. But the trade backs are good. 2 have fallen for Evil Geniuses. Make that 3. NRG say we don't just need FBI's damage. We got so much more. Eyla, the victim of a triple kill from Palafox. If you don't got Jinx, you got LeBlanc.
Yeah, absolutely. Revenge tried to go for a huge play. Was really beautiful. Found the Q3 flash. As able to isolate FBI, pull him back over the wall. They had the ulti from Unforgiven to follow it up. So I love the chance at a turn here from them. Again, they know they're not going to win any normal fights. Armao early on was chained up, was burst down on the side. Dhokla almost died, but did not. And that ulti coming through from Jinx, softening up a lot of members, but a great buffer on the shift there from Jojo. Now watch Revenge. As FBI goes forward, Q3 flash, dashes in, ults him perfectly on the angle, over the wall. Unforgiven, with his dying breath, gets the ulti off. Barely survived. Had like less than 100 HP, does get zapped down finally by that Shiv. Jojo got the shutdown, and it is going to be a 1K, so Jojo will get a big injection of gold, but you are still so far behind here, and they're going to have to do that multiple times to even have any chance.
Yeah, 12,000 gold lead now for NRG, though. You are going to worry about where Jojo can be as a threat in the later fights if given a chance, but NRG still working up these waves and keeping up the map pressure. You have that dragon spawned on the bot side too. And
25 stack Mage Eyes. So EG just going to try to attack one side. Will force the flash. I think that's going to be it. Dhokla trying to look for a little bit of turnaround. Will pop the ulti. I think that's a bit ambitious, but this is traded for a dragon on the other side of the map. One thing working for EG is there wasn't really any early dragons taken, so they have a lot of time before they have to worry about Soul. So really the only thing you have to defend is Baron. You don't care about dragons at this point. You can give up whatever. You're just trying to get farm. You're trying to survive, but Palafox is comically strong. I mean, he's 25 stack Mage Eyes. He's going to have the Lich Bane soon. He already has the Shiv and the Night Harvester, and now Eyla may be caught out.
Ignar slamming down, another rocket from downtown. Eyla hooking into the wall, but Ignar will latch onto him. Palafox still zoned off by Revenge on the bot side, but Ayla's life finally claims. Armao down to half HP. Means NRG are feeling good about the top side matchup. That turret already marked low as well.
I mean, Palafox is in a 1v3 on bot side. They can't even do anything to him, right? Like, no one can match him in the 1v1 on the push. He just distorts forward. He pokes away at the towers. He's slowly whittling down that base. And on the other side, you're losing too. So it is going to be back to the Baron. Armao going to look, but he's going to go down.
Good forward positioning from NRG in the enemy jungle around this Baron take. FBI and Contractz are able to hold it down on their own. So NRG securing the Red Bull Baron buff to continue pushing these lanes and controlling this game.
Yeah, this should really be all they need to close this one out. 15k gold lead, end the Baron buff, reset, spend your gold, group up, push it in. You can go 1-4. I think just send out Palafox to a side lane. The other fours you can just group. I don't think you need to get that fancy with 1-3-1. Palafox needs to be able to draw to multiple members to him. And if you send multiple members to Palafox, you can get Dove on the other side. If you do not, he can slowly take your base. So even the turret will survive there on the bot side as Dhokla is able to come in and clean up that wave. For now, they're getting all the waves moving in the right direction. You can see Palafox already pushed out top lane. They're now grouping up, taking over vision control in this top side jungle. Dhokla going to be the one pushing out through bot. Looks like they may still want to play through 3 lanes, but I do think they have the opportunity to just kind of brute force it. Like, you don't need to kind of get so fancy, so to speak.
Yeah, there's no teleport for Dhokla yet, but of course the time it takes for you to rotate towards the team is lessened when you are this close to the enemy base. Evil geniuses forced into some defensive positioning. They want to get the wards in their favor, kind of on these direct outskirts, because you're worried about the way in which Palafox can kind of jump in and out over those walls. But look at how Dhokla is able to focus onto that bot in him. And here on top side, Armao running into some trouble. Ignar using the Magnet Storm to secure the kill for the squad. And now Palafox pushing up from the mid lane means that they can claim a second inhibitor and the turret on the top side. They're just going to go for all 3, because even though Evil Geniuses still have 4 up, can they make a stand? Eyla stunned up and burned down way too quickly. Palafox into the backline he goes. Unforgiven throwing out the Feather Storm. Double stasis from Dhokla and Jojo, but only one erupts alive. NRG keeping up the pressure. They've taken every single turret here on the map, looking to slap down the Nexus for a resounding win against your #1 team, NRG on top.
NRG with a big upset win here to end week number 3. Really well played by them. Massive carry performances from Palafox, from FBI. They got ahead early. They stayed ahead late. Was very well done. But NRG, just played a really solid, really intelligent game. They played the map better than EG. They're able to punish Revenge on the top side so heavily, zoning him off so many waves.